works. Here, I'm gonna pass you this as well. So, the water. Right? Let's start out. Let's clap it up. Right, we're gonna start off as always. Shalom, Israel. We are the Israelite School of Universal and Practical Knowledge. We started out on 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General Yohana. So to all the brothers out there, Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Thumb, and Yahweh Shemar Thumb Bashem Yahweh Shai to all the sisters. So thumb right. All right. General, get on me. We'll read what the ISUPK is about. In the ISUPK, we are educating Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians about their true heritage according to the Bible, which is comprised of the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Bible. Once our people begin to follow the laws, God or Yahweh in the Hebrew will look down from heaven and have mercy on us, turning a lawless and immoral people into a law-abiding, righteous people. When we do this, he will send Christ to free us from our oppression. Using the Bible, the ISUPK will fix all the problems in the Black and Latino and Native Indians communities, right? The true nationality of the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Indians, and West Indians of North, Central, and South America are the true descendants of the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Yasharallah, or the nation of Israel. And Yahweh Shai Mashiach, whom the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is our king. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into it. We got the Feast of Purim tonight. We're going to be holding down the Feast of Purim. Before we get into the breakdown, let's go ahead and see if we got any questions in the room. I believe you have something about Jubilee.
Right. I was just asking, what exactly is the Jubilee year referring to?
Right.
And what does it mean for us Israelites?
Okay, we're going to use the Zondervan Bible Dictionary right there. So that's the full pictorial Zondervan Bible Dictionary. When it came up in the school, so they used to announce this on classes when I started going to class with Officer Wanyala. So your Hebrew starter pack is your King James Version Bible with your Apocrypha. You want to have a Zondervan Bible Dictionary, right? Some people get the compact Zondervan Bible Dictionary, others get the full one. You can find those for about $13 on, online. It can help with a lot of different things. Obviously, it's not the Bible, it's not the Word of God, but a lot of the information in there lines up and adds up with what we teach, and it gives you a deeper understanding of certain things you may not know. And then the next one is the Strong's Concordance. That's real old school. That's how we do a lot of studying. You can find any word in the Bible, and then they list it out of all the passages that word is in the Bible. So if you look up the word, let's say salvation, you're doing a topic on salvation, it's like Google before Google. It'll show you every time the word salvation is in the Bible. Then you can also go into the Hebrew or the Greek of that word. So those are things, I don't know where my Strong's, if it's here, it's at the house, but those are some things you want to grab to get strength and rooted in the truth. All right. So let's look up the word Jubilee though. It's just like a dictionary. Did you find it, or is it going to be towards the J's? You just scroll. It's in alphabetical order, so you just scroll towards the J's and JU, and it should pop up. Yeah, we gotta always stick to our ways, man. The traditions that we had for getting some things, that's on the officers that have come before to make sure we pass these things down, man. That Zondervan will get you out of a lot of jams when it comes to battling. All right. Shalom, Yahweh Shemar, Thambashim Yahweh Shai, to Princess Nazam Anah, or Jewel, also Mother Bars Rib, Most High Christ Sis. Welcome back. If you have any questions, anybody have questions online, go ahead, type them in the chat.
I hear.
Yeah, so the T.
Never. Jubilee.
Read loud.
Jubilee. According to Leviticus 25, every 50th year in Israel was to be announced as a Jubilee year. 3 essential features characterize this year.
Mm-hmm.
First, liberty was proclaimed to all Israelites who were in bondage to any of their countrymen.
Right. So, like, if you owed someone some money, you couldn't pay them back, then you could go into bondage and work that debt off that you owed them. Now, let's say in that time you still weren't able to pay it off if it's gotten to this Jubilee year, which is what is it, the 7th year? Or no, it's the 50th year. The 50th year, the year of Jubilee, you can that debt is wiped clean. You'll be set free. Now, some people you could have gotten into debt last year, owe me a whole lot of money. Just so happens next year falls on the Jubilee and that debt is over. You know what I mean? So anything else to say? And we can read some of these verses here in the Bible in the 25th chapter.
Well, it continues, sir.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's
so you had the Jubilee. You had the Jubilee year, and you had the Jubilee. You had the Sabbath year as well. Is that's all it says in there? Does anything else? Mm-hmm. All right. So
ancestral possessions to whose had been.
Yeah. Let's go ahead. Let's just read it out the Bible. If there's nothing else in there.
25.
Yeah. So let's start at verse 2 real quick. Explain the Sabbath year. Are you familiar with the Sabbath year?
Sabbath year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most High Christ. No sweat. Huh? Let's go ahead and get down.
The book of Leviticus, chapter 25, and verse 2. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord.
Right, read.
Verse 3. 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyard, and gather in the fruit thereof. Verse 4. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath for the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard.
Right. Go ahead.
So is this referring to if you had your brethren in of service to you, like a handmaid, or like your brethren as a servant to you, then he should serve you 6 years, and on the 7th, and it will be his rest.
Lie.
Okay.
So this is this for one shows you the wisdom of the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. Right. This shows you the knowledge that the children of Israel had was superior to the knowledge other nations had.
Right.
This shows you that the Lord was with the children of Israel, and it shows you how greedy and ignorant our oppressor has been over the years. Right. So what this is saying is it says that the land shall keep a Sabbath, just like we are supposed to rest on the Sabbath. The land that you actually work and live on is supposed to have a rest.
Right.
In this year, 6 years you can work, just like you work your slave job, whatever. On the 7th day is a day of rest. The 7th year shall be a Sabbath rest unto the land. The entire year you're not going to grow. So when it says you should neither it says you shouldn't prune, you shouldn't go out and cut these things, plant seeds, do all that. That is not what you're gonna do. In verse 5, you can read verse 5.
Verse 5. That which groweth of its own accord of thy harvest thou shalt not reap, neither gather the grapes of thy vine undressed.
Mm-hmm.
For it is a year of rest unto the land.
Right. And so that even the stuff that's just growing of its own, we're not supposed to go out and pick these things off of there. We're supposed to let everything rest, everything have a break. And let's see. Keep going.
Verse 6. And the Sabbath of the land shall be meat for you, for thee, and for thy servant, and for thy maid, and for thy hired servant, and for thy stranger that sojourneth with thee. Verse 7. And for thy cattle, and for the beasts that are in the land, shall all that increase thereof be meat.
Right. And so going back to the reason why I say it's so wise and what to say, just it's very wise, and this information comes from the Most High. So I'm gonna ask Alexa. Let's see, Alexa don't listen to me. Alexa, can you Google on your phone cause of Irish potato famine? Okay. Good.
You said
Good. Great famine of Ireland. Just go to Wikipedia. Mm-hmm. Hold on, let me see. It's gonna be a lot on here. Clauses and shit.
The Bible describes several famines, including ones in Egypt, Samaria, and during the time of David. Is this what you're looking for, sir?
You said the Irish potato famine.
Irish potato.
Mm-hmm. Let me see.
The Great Famine, also known as the Great Hunger Famine, and the Irish Potato Famine, was a period of mass starvation and disease in Ireland lasting from 1845 to 1852.
Mm-hmm.
That constituted a historical social crisis and had a major impact on Irish society and history as a whole.
Right. So let me see one thing as well. So not only it was like a disease that came on the disease that came upon these potatoes everyone was dependent upon. Let me see. Let me see.
The Great Hunger was primarily caused by devastating potato blight.
Hold on.
Blight.
I'm trying to look up something on here. So just for time's sake, I'm gonna go into it, just give you understanding of things like this, why I say it's wise. Let me see, just go. Let me see if this can go ahead.
So their whole crops were diseased, sir?
Yeah. That's why a lot of Irish people came to America at this time. They didn't have any food. They were literally dying, starving to death because this is the main crop they eat. And this running through rampant is like all their crops are being destroyed. Right. And so this is something that's called crop rotation. What was crop rotations? Crop rotation is the practice of growing a series of different types of crops in the same area across a sequence of growing seasons. This practice reduces the resilience of crops on one onset of nutrients, pests, weed pressure, and along with probably developing resistant pests and weeds. Growing the same crop in the same place many years in a row, known as monocropping, gradually depletes the soil of certain nutrients and selects for both a highly competitive pest and weed community. Without balancing nutrient use and diversifying pest and weed communities, the productivity of monocultures is highly dependent on external inputs that may be harmful to the soil's fertility. Conversely, a well-designed crop rotation can reduce the need for synthetic fertilizers, herbicides by better using ecosystem services from diverse set of crops. Additionally, crop rotations can improve soil structure, organic matter, which reduces erosion and increases farm resilience. So, what is it saying? If you grow some crops in the same dirt over and over and over and over again, you grow tomatoes. Tomatoes pull certain nutrients out of the soil that make tomatoes grow. It's just like any other animal. Like cows, they eat grass, and this animal, the deer, they eat this, and the chickens, they eat the corn or whatever. So plants are the same way. A different plant takes different nutrients more than others. And so they gravitate towards these nutrients in the ground. They will strip the ground of all those nutrients, and now your crops don't grow. So they move the crops to different parts of the field. So this year we'll grow potatoes here. Next year we'll grow broccoli here. And then we'll put the potatoes there. And then we'll move the tomatoes over here. They move them around like that. So it gets a well-balanced nutrients in the soil. Long story short, the Irish people, dumb as hell, all they did was grow potatoes in the same land for years and 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 years until it destroyed their whole ecosystem. Potatoes was damaged. They all started dying by the millions. You see what I'm saying? So this, in essence, is a form of the Lord allowing the land to rest. So the nutrients in the ground, that's the scientific explanation. That's why I say it's wisdom. Like, what's going on? No, it's not. It's on the other side. Ministry, no sweat. But that's some wisdom of the Lord as well, to let the land rest and not be greedy and just trying to grow and maximize your crops every year. Right. And so these are some things that was instituted. Just like we all deserve a rest. We can't just work 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're gonna die doing that. It's the same thing for the land. It's not wise to keep working the land. That's how your oppressor is. He'll keep running and going until there's nothing left. And then when you go down to the Jubilee, so it starts to explain it in verse 8. It's like we'll go into
the book of Leviticus, chapter 25 and verse 8. And thou shalt number 7 Sabbaths of years unto thee, 7 times 7 years, and the space of the 7 Sabbaths of years shall be unto the 49 years.
So 7 times 7 is 49. So 7 years, 7 times is 50 years. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Right. Or 49 years. And then on the 50th year, that's the year of Jubilee. And then they start it all over. They count after that. So read verse 10. Okay. Oh, yeah. No, it's like.
Then shalt thou cause the trumpet of the Jubilee to sound on the 10th day of the 7th month, in the day of atonement. Shall ye make the trumpet sound throughout all your land. Verse 10.
Right.
And ye shall hallow the 50th year, right, and proclaim liberty throughout all the land unto all the inhabitants thereof.
Mm-hmm.
It shall be a it shall be a jubile unto you,
Mm-hmm.
and ye shall return every man unto his possession. And ye shall return every man unto his family.
Right. So the things that maybe have taken, like, okay, you owe me this, you owe me that, and I didn't taking this, I'm using that, I'm gonna give it back to you. If you have someone working for you, you're gonna hand them back to their family and say, the debt is clear. And so even to this day, our oppressor steals this in American culture where your credit report, it lasts for 7 years. If you have someone on your credit report after 7 years, it falls off. This is them trying to mimic some of the laws that they got from the Bible. Yeah. Yeah. And then keep going. Let's see. If you read verse 14 is good. Then. Oh no, read where we at? Verse 11?
Verse 11. A jubile shall not,
The Jubilee.
a jubilee shall that 50th year be unto you.
Mm-hmm.
Ye shall not sow, neither reap that which groweth of itself in it, nor gather the grapes in it of thy vine undressed.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 12. For it is the Jubilee, it shall be holy unto you.
Mm-hmm.
Ye shall eat the increase thereof out of the field.
Right. So if there's some things that have grown in the field this time, you can't eat some of that stuff to survive the extras that are growing. All right. And read verse 14. Let's get down for time's sake.
Verse 14. And if thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, or buyest aught of thy neighbor's hand,
Mm-hmm.
ye shall not oppress one another.
Right. You shall know what?
Not oppress one another.
So this is all in our laws. The laws are based on brotherhood, right? And how we treat the children of Israel. So this is another instance where the law is saying these are certain things you cannot do with your brothers, and you are not here to oppress fellow Israelites and rule over them and take advantage of them financially, right? Da, 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 da. So that's that. Won't get into too much more of this stuff. But these things were not only wisdom and just how we deal with each other, giving the land a rest, giving our workers a rest, uh, putting our focus on the Lord, because you get to a Jubilee year, you might not be able to grow crops for this year, or a Sabbath year, you might not be able to do this and do that. You might plan for that year. You're going to put some stuff up to prepare for that year and get through. And so that's also keeping your people like one step ahead. Because a lot of times, a lot of these cultures were wiped out back in the days because of a famine or because of a lack of food stored up. And the Israelites had it within our culture to constantly be getting prepared for something like this, but we're not able to grow. And like that's an amazing amount of faith as a nation of people to have. It was like, damn, I could be doing this, I could be doing that. We're gonna set out an entire year and still be fucking number one nation. All right. All right. Anything else? Any questions? All right, let's get to this Feast of Purim. Let's go to the book of Esther, chapter 1 and verse 1. You got it? That's what you talk. The book of Esther, chapter 1, verse 1. Shalom, Yabashim Yashar Bakatah to Officer Durak. What? This feast of Purim is a very solid and very important feast in Israelite culture. Not only does it serve as a day that we can all unite around the Lord destroying one of our enemies that wanted to destroy us. That's another thing about high holy days or feast days when it comes to the children of Israel. What are some of our big feast days or high holy days? What are some of the big feast days in Israelite culture? Yeah, let's darn it.
First fruits.
Okay. The biggest ones first is
First.
our biggest feast day every year.
Feast of Trumpets.
Mhm.
Wow.
The Passover, right? Another big feast. It's not a high holy day. It's a feast day. Would be Hanukkah, right? And another big one is the Feast of Purim, right? These things all have one thing in common. Are you familiar with the Feast of Purim or not too much?
Not too
Okay,
much.
we're gonna go through this book then. They're gonna do a lot. We'll finish it up tomorrow, but this is a very important story in our culture. We're gonna let the book speak for itself. So Esther, the quick synopsis, and we'll break it down right now, is a sister that was living amongst the heathens in the Persian Empire. It's called the Achaemenid Empire, or the Persian and the Mede Empire. Xerxes, you see in the movie 300. Xerxes, he was the king over this empire at this time. They call him Asaras in here. And his empire was very vast and very large. He had somebody in his cabinet or people that worked underneath him that were high ranking in the nation. One of them is a guy named Haman. Haman hated the Israelites. He was an Amalekite, or what you would call a so-called Jewish person today. And we had obviously had a lot of issues with them prior. King Saul was commanded to kill all the Amalekites. He didn't do it, and these people stick around, and this is where we get the situation, Esther. Long story short, there's a guy, Mordecai, who's Esther's uncle. He's going through the courtyards, and every time Haman comes through, everybody's supposed to bow. Mordecai wouldn't bow. He's like, I'm not worshiping this man. I'm going to worship the Most High. And Haman was irate. He was pissed off at this and wanted to not only kill Mordecai, but he asked the king to have all of the Israelites within the kingdom to be destroyed. And so Mordecai asked Esther to go and talk to the king, and Esther worked with the king in order to save the children of Israel, because on this day, the day of the 14th day, I believe, of a certain month, we were supposed to be destroyed, wiped out. But we'll read it. And so now we honor this feast day every year. And the three things that are in common with the Purim, Passover, and what was the other one I said? Purim, Passover, Hanukkah, is we're celebrating the Lord destroying our enemies. So we are a warlike people. Matter of fact, give me that first before we hold Esther. Give me Exodus chapter 15, verse 3. This is how you know this is true right here. We're going to wake it up, Doc. That's a long day. I'm in here yawning too. I should have went and got my coffee. Exodus chapter 15, verse 3. Read it when you got it.
This is the book of Exodus, chapter 15 and verse 3. The Lord is a man of war. The Lord is his name.
Right. The Lord is what?
The Lord is a man of war.
Right. The Lord is a man of war. Yahweh is his name. This is the spirit of the Most High God, is a man of war. And so that's how you know the feast days are always about, not all of them, but a lot of them are about war. Our people celebrating the death and destruction of our enemies. And that's what's going to happen too. When we get into the kingdom, we're going to have to institute a new feast day to celebrate the destruction of the white man and destruction of America.
That's
because these are the things that our people were praying for in these times, and to see the Lord deliver us out of them is worthy of a celebration and coming together
right.
and enjoying ourselves with each other. Now let's go back to Esther. All right.
We're in the book of Esther,
Yep.
chapter 1, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
God's hand of providence and protection on behalf of his people is evident throughout the book of Esther.
Mm-hmm.
Though his name did not appear once.
Okay.
Haman,
is that verse 1? This is like a backstory of it. Let's go straight into Esther 1 and 1.
Right. Okay. So
No sweat. No sweat.
Now it came to pass in the days of
Ahasuerus.
Mm-hmm. Now it came in the days of Ahasuerus. This is Ahasuerus, which reigned from India even into Ethiopia over 107 and 20 provinces.
Right. So he had taken over. This is one of the largest empires that ever existed at this time. This probably is arguably the largest empire that ever existed, from all the way from Ethiopia in Africa all the way to India. So all the land around the Middle East, Israel, all the way up and over, this whole landmass was underneath Egypt. All of that was underneath the Persian emperor Xerxes.
Verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
That in those days, when the king Ahasuerus sat on the throne of his kingdom, which was in Shushan, the palace.
Right, so there was a palace where he had in Shushan. All right.
In the 3rd year of his reign, he made a feast unto all his princes and his servants, the power of Persia and Media, the nobles and princes of provinces, being before him. Right.
So now we've seen the movie 300. We heard about Xerxes in history. You go and look up Xerxes, let's say on Wikipedia. I'm gonna look it up real quick, and it's gonna talk about him. Xerxes the first. Xerxes, commonly known as Xerxes the Great, was a Persian ruler who served as the 4th king of kings of the Achaemenid Empire, and talks about where he ruled, crushing revolts in Egypt and ancient Babylon. He wanted to take over ancient Greece. The fact that it says in history that he was over the Persian and the Mede Empire shows you the Bible is not just a book about fantasy. That's what they'll tell you a lot nowadays. They're like, that's a fantasy book. Well, there's actual real life history. If you go and anyone that knows history, they know about Xerxes, they know about the Persian and the Median Empire. And this is talking about this. Like, to me, even just 200-300 years ago, it's hard to see how the world could be so connected, because how could somebody in the middle of America know what the hell happens in ancient Persia 2,000 years before that? Like, I don't know the stories of what's going on in LA right now, unless I'm tapped in with somebody out there. If you're not in the neighborhood, you could be one city over, you don't know what the hell's going on over in this neighborhood. How the hell do we know what the hell was going on very specifically in ancient Persian Mede in this Bible? Go ahead, up.
People keep records, sir.
Right. But they tell you it's a fantasy book.
Right.
You see how that contradicts it? This is history. This is a history book, and history backs up what the Bible is saying.
Right.
Yeah. All right, let's go.
Verse 4. When he showed the riches of his glorious kingdom and the honor of his excellent majesty many days, even 180 days.
Right, so this is basically like about 180 days. A score is 20. 104 times 20 is 80 days. He had a party You know he's on some drugs. Yeah, like how you party for 180 days straight? You know what I mean? Go ahead.
And when these days were expired, the king made a feast unto all the people that were present in Shushan the palace, both unto great and small, 7 days in the court of the garden of the king's palace.
Right. So, yep, he said everybody came. It was a big feast inside of his palace. Let's drop down. So, verse 7.
Verse 7. And they gave him drink in vessels of gold, the vessels being diverse from one another, and the royal wine in abundance, according to the state of the king.
Right. So he's just bringing out drinks to everybody. It's drinks on the house, man. But keep going.
And the drinking was according to the law.
Mm-hmm.
None did compel.
Well, they don't force you or keep pushing drinks on you. Their laws, their culture was you drink if you want to drink. If you don't got to. Go ahead.
For so the king had appointed to all the officers of his house that they should do according to every man's pleasure.
Whatever they wanted to do, they can do it. And that's how it was. Go ahead.
Also, Vashti the queen made the feast for the women in the royal house which belonged to a king. How do you say this?
Ahasuerus. You can just say Xerxes.
Ahasuerus.
Mm-hmm. So he had a separate place where the women, they were having their own party. They enjoying their time as well. Keep going.
Verse 10. On the 7th day, when the heart of the king was merry with wine, he commanded Mehuman, Biztha, Harbona, Bigtha, and Abba. How do you say this, sir?
Abagatha.
Zephyr,
right,
and Carcas, the 7 chamberlains that served in the presence of Ahasuerus the king, to bring Vashti the queen before the king with the crown royal. The crown royal.
Salaki, right? So he told his servants to go and tell the queen she was a beautiful woman. In his mind, he wanted to show off to everybody in his empire, right? Or that was the men that he was holding this feast day for.
To show the people and the princess her beauty, for she was fair to look on.
Right.
But the queen Vashti refused to come at the king's commandment by his chamberlains. Therefore was the king very wroth.
Right.
And his anger burned in him.
Right. He's like, man, how the hell is she not coming up here? I'm the king. You know what I do? Like, I built the greatest empire. So now you kind of got to go into the background of the Achaemenid Empire, right? I'm going to read a little bit on Wikipedia about this empire. The Achaemenid Empire, also known as the Persian Empire, was an Iranian empire founded by Cyrus the Great. Based in modern-day Iran, it was the largest empire by that point in history, spanning a total of 5.5 million square kilometers or 2.1 million square miles. The empire spanned from the Balkans and Egypt in the west and most of West Asia, the majority of Central Asia to the northeast and the Indus Valley of the South Asia to the southeast. So somebody that has an empire this great, his army had, it says some historians say it was about 1 million people in his army. It was pulling up the spots with 1 million soldiers. And that's why in that movie, when Xerxes' armies, and he had some people with him called the Untouchables. He had about 10,000 soldiers that they were just, you couldn't mess with them. I mean, so it's like, who is this broad to tell me she can't come up here when I tell her to come up here.
Mm.
Which shows you how out of order women can be, right? And that's why we say that the one thing that usually gets brothers out of the truth is usually women, right?
Mm.
Then it's drugs and money. But a woman doesn't care about none of that. Then that's how, even for brothers, it's like, man, when I'm doing this and they're saying count out of one kind, and the brothers is, in order, it's because brothers are soldiers. We can take orders, we can be in line and follow somebody. Women, they are just not like that. They can be weaker in a lot of ways, right? And so some brothers get mad that this woman is not, saying count out of one kind to you like you expect her to be a soldier. That's just not her nature. You can't be mad at her for being a woman. And this shows you no matter what a nigga gets, he got the whole world in his hands. She's like, nah, I ain't listening to you. So it's like, this is important though. Keep going.
Verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
Then the king said
Mm-hmm.
to the wise men, which knew the times,
Mm-hmm.
for so was the king's manner toward all that knew the law and judgment.
Right. So verse 15.
Drop down, sir.
Yeah, drop down. Let's skip.
What shall we do unto the queen Vashti according to the law?
Mm-hmm.
Because she hath not performed the commandment of the king Ahasuerus by the chamber.
Right. Go ahead.
And the Memucan answered before the king, and the princess Vashti, the queen, hath not done wrong to the king only,
Mm-hmm.
but also to all the princes and to all the people that are in the provinces of the king Ahasuerus.
Right. So what is he saying? He's saying she ain't just spit in your face. She's spit in everybody's face. By her not listening to you, she not listening to everybody. Like she's disrespecting. She's disrespecting me. She disrespecting you, but she disrespected me by disrespecting you. Everybody in the whole province, all the princes, all the leaders, everybody, she's disrespecting them. Because our job is to make sure everyone bows down to you and obeys your commands. Read verse 17.
For this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women.
Unto who?
Unto all women.
Go ahead.
So that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
Right. Now, these heathens had the right spirit when it comes to this. What are they saying? No sweat, no sweat.
For the deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women, so that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes.
You can keep going because we didn't finish it. Maybe it'll help you.
When it shall be reported,
Mm-hmm.
the king Ahasuerus commanded Vashti, the queen, to be brought in before him, but she came not. So,
Mm-hmm.
sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess like she's being like a bad role model to all the other women in the kingdom.
Right. Yeah. Right. It says, for this deed of the queen shall come abroad unto all women. And once they hear that this happened, all women are going to be listening like, oh, this is how it is? So that they shall despise their husbands in their eyes. Like, if the queen of the king of the entire world don't got to obey her husband, then the woman, you over here just a regular dude, she definitely ain't listening to you. You see what I'm saying? So now this is important when it comes to modern day. And Kabad just said America has put the queen before the kings, and that's true. And that's why America does that.
Right.
It's exactly why America puts women first. They want to give them Like, do you hear about black girl magic? You know what I'm saying? I never heard about nothing about black boys. It's crazy. Even though the dude tried to make one when we was listening to Michael Eric Dyson, he said something. I'm like, nobody ever repeated that. I've only heard him say that one time. I don't even remember what the hell he said. But he said black boy joy and black girl man. I don't know, something weird. But they have whole initiatives for black girls, for girls, girl power it is. It's one is called Black Girls Coding. I met a girl on the airplane in Atlanta. Sister, she's like, yeah, I'm working with this organization, Black Girls Coding. They're teaching black girls how to code computers and stuff. I'm like, where's the boys' version of that? They don't care about helping young black boys. America knows that's the biggest threat, so they want to put women above the men because that will destroy a nation. So now the highest woman, Beyonce, this is like Beyonce. That's who Queen Vashti is like. What she says, all the women's gonna do. And they're like, man, if she's telling you to the left, all these different things that I don't need no man, if you don't pay my bills, that spirit that these women have, sexy red nowadays, Cardi B, that is what all the women are gonna be on. So they knew this back then in their culture. They're like, we don't want none of that in our culture. All women gotta be in subjection to the men. And if the queen ain't on point, the whole kingdom is gonna fall apart, right? And what do they call Beyonce?
Queen B, sir.
Exactly. So who do women look at as a queen? They're gonna do whatever she says, and that's how the culture is stipulated. It was the same back then. It's the same now. So a sister in a position of leadership is very important if women look up to her because women are simple and they will do whatever. The brother made a good point. He said Egyptology says the woman is God. That means God is no longer a warrior, but he is easily conquered. Good, nice. That's heavy. Give Kabbalah a hand for that as well. Right? Let's keep going.
Verse 18.
Uh-huh.
Likewise shall the ladies of Persia and Media say this day unto all the king's princes, which have heard the deed, which have heard the deed of the queen. Thus shall there arise too much contempt and wrath.
Right.
If it please the king,
right,
let there go a royal commandment from him, and let it be written among the laws of Persians and the Medes.
Yeah.
Does they say that, sir?
Yeah, Persian and the Medes.
And the Medes. That it not be altered, and that Vashti come no more before King Ahasuerus.
Right. So he's like, man, we're gonna make a rule. She's just done. She's not gonna be your top wife, queen, or nothing. She can't even come in front of you. We need to X her out of your life right now.
Right.
Go ahead. Let's see. Okay.
Let the king
So it says, and let the king do what?
And let the king give her a royal estate unto another that is better than she.
Right. So this is where Esther comes into play. So let's drop down to chapter 2. Let's read verse 3, the book of Esther, chapter 2, verse 3.
Chapter 2, verse 3. And let the king appoint officers in all provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather together all the fair young virgins unto Shushan the palace, to the house of the women unto the custody of Hedge,
Yeah.
of Hedge the king's chamberlain, of Hedge the king's chamberlain, Slakia, keeper of the women.
Mm-hmm.
And let their things for purification be given to them.
Right. And so we're going to skip down for time's sake. We're going to go into a little bit more. So this time for purification, this is like, what did it say? Does it say a specific time on here? I think it's up to 6 months or maybe the time will be revealed later on down the line. But it's about 6 months to a year that these women were basically separated for a time of purification. And this is important. So we'll drop down and see the time amount of it. But I think about it like this. Not only are these women, they getting bathed, they getting their oils, they getting their hair washed, their feet rubbed. These are some of the baddest women in the empire. It's like what they used to do when they hip hop. Flavor Flav, when he used to have all them broads come up and they stay in one house and It's kind of a version of like that. Like, man, we about to bring the baddest women in the empire. We're gonna put them in these places. They're gonna be getting manicured, smelling good, smelling right for an extended amount of time. You know that it reminds me also of that Wagyu beef. Kabah know about that Wagyu, the Kobe beef.
Right.
That special beef they say in Japan where they giving the things massages.
Right.
You know what I mean? They feeding the cow specific food. They making sure this cow is living better than a lot of niggas in Oakland right now. A lot of niggas in the ghetto all across America and the barrio. Them cows in Japan are living better than us. Better than me. When was the last time I went? You know what I'm saying? Went and got, you know what I mean? Like you was talking about earlier, yeah, you got all types of, people taking care of you, maintaining you, right? That's how the king wanted these women to be. And also, it's a form of protecting your empire, too. And this is like the wisdom of being in the truth. Why do you think it's important to let this woman come? Let's go drop down and go, and we'll come back to that part to show you how long he had them women this purification. It's everything's for purification. Let's go to verse 12.
Verse 12. Now, when every maid's turn was come to go into King Ahasuerus, after that she had been 12 months, according to the manner of the women, for so were the days of their purifications accomplished.
Right.
To wit, 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with sweet odors, and with other things for the purifying of the women.
Right. So it's 6 months first with this oils or whatever, and then 6 months with sweet odors that these women are getting bathed and cleaned and just chilling and relaxed and massaged and taken care of, manicured up for an entire year before the king would even consider marrying them. Why do you think that's important? Because we read in our, UPK, we have a 6-month rule, and it's 6 months that you can't even court a sister. Then it's 6 months that you quarter, then you can marry. That's a full year that when a brand new sister comes into school before she can even potentially have a husband. In this side in the Bible, what do you think this heathen king, because he's not our people, when he's saying purification, what do you think in a carnal man's mind or, a logical mind? Why is it important? Just giving anything. I'm not giving anything.
So that she be as clean as possible. I mean, she just be untouched by anybody. Sir.
Okay. You on that? What does that mean? You getting close to it?
So she ain't had sex.
There you go. You understand? And what comes with sex? Bring it all the way home.
Marriage.
No. She didn't have sex, and it's been a year. Then
Like I said, I'm about to say something wild. I know we are liars.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah. I don't want to know where you're going with it, but just to be straight point to it. Okay, I'll give you one last hint. Day. Day on Friday. Number 2. Goodbye. Know what I'm talking about. What happened when what was the first scene? All right, really introduction to Day and that crazy.
Oh yeah. You keep the guard.
Yeah, but what was going on with him and the dynamics of her?
Oh, so she's fertile, right? She's pregnant.
Exactly, right? But the dynamic. I'm gonna just go for time's sake. He was like, man, I met the broad. She was sitting here. She was chilling. She said I was only with her for about a month. Then she popped out saying she was like 3 months pregnant. He was like, man, when I met her, she had a little beer belly because I smelled a little beer on her breath. He didn't think nothing of it. He seen a little pudge. Really, the broad was pregnant. But he started sleeping with her, smashing. Now she like, nigga, I'm pregnant. It was like, how the hell are you pregnant so quickly to be this far along when we only been together for this short time? So now she putting this baby on you that's not yours. It ain't yours. You know what I'm saying? And so you got to raise this kid up, pay child support and all that, when in reality she's a whore and she's trying to put this child on you. So could you imagine, you understand, back in these days, there's no DNA testing. You bringing this woman from the empire, it's been 3 months, you laying with her. Now you're going to leave your entire empire to this son. You built up billions of dollars, basically, and you about to leave it to your next son to be the king. And it's the butlers. It's it's you know what I mean? This child belongs to some cat that's shining shoes in the empire. She didn't let stand, you know what I mean? So it's wisdom to let the box chill, you know what I'm saying? Purificate, become pure. Even if you wasn't doing nothing, even if you never laid with a man, we're gonna sit and watch because it takes about 10 months for a baby to be born. So we're gonna sit you down, you're on time out for 10 months. Then that 12th month, a little bit too more, we make a full year. Now you're good to go. We know you haven't been with no man. You've been in this room, you've been in this section of the empire. All they had eunuchs around. That was really big in the Persian Empire. They would actually castrate men that worked in the palace so that they couldn't impregnate none of the men's women.
Right.
Yeah. And that's something big still up until like a lot of the Arabic culture to this day, Middle Eastern culture, where like, I'm going to say to this day, but in modern times when they took slaves over to the Middle East, the Arabs took us, it's called I think it's the Trans-Saharan slave trade. They took us through the desert to the Middle East. There are not a lot of Israelites in the Middle East like it is over here because they would castrate the males. So they would castrate the males and let them work, but they would take the women and they would sleep with the women and have kids with them. So we had a lot of our Israelite women that would take it over there, but there are not a lot of Israelite men over there because they were castrating their brothers and not allowing them to have children. You know, it's evil as hell. But yeah, that is a part of the culture. They have a lot of eunuchs in the Persian culture. And so especially the men that worked inside the castle or whatever you want to call it, palace, to make sure they weren't sleeping with these women. You know what I mean? But now, like I said, wisdom of coming into the school with that 6-month-year rule, it's not only letting the sister share herself with the world, letting her focus on something more than just rob, because that's how a lot of women are since a very young age. That's what they've been taught. It's also saying, okay, is this sister coming with it? Maybe she's gonna meet her brother and throw this baby on this nigga. Sit down. Dude, stop. You know what I'm saying? Let it have a break. You know what I'm saying? Become born again. So lock it. Let's go back to chapter 2. going to introduce. I'm going to move real quick. We're closing out. We're not going to go long at all. We'll have more time tomorrow. Verse 5. Chapter 2, verse 5.
The book of Esther, chapter 2 and verse 5.
Right.
Now in Shushan, the palace, there was a certain Jew whose name was Mordecai, the son of Jair, the son of Shema,
all right,
the son of Kish, of Benjamin.
Right.
Verse 6. Who had been carried away from Jerusalem with the captivity which had been carried away with Jeconiah, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had carried away.
Right, that's what we're talking about. Nebuchadnezzar. Last week, he's the king that carried away the Israelites, brought them into Babylon, also brought in this man Mordecai, right? Who was a Benjamite. Go ahead, verse 7.
And he brought up
Hadassah.
And he brought up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter. For she had neither father nor mother, and the maid was fair and beautiful, whom Mordecai, when her father and mother were dead, took for his own daughter.
Right. And so Esther was a baddie, so lucky. I don't know how, Esther had to be a top-notch sister. That was just, everybody knew this about her, Hadassah. But it's interesting right here, Hadassah is her name, and then Esther is different, right? So let's go to Daniel chapter 1 real quick. We're going to show Daniel was around the same time. He was dealing in the same captivity. Let's see. Let's go to Daniel chapter 1 verse 6.
Chapter 1 verse 6. Look at Daniel.
Oh, you do verse 1 real quick? Let's just read it real quick.
The book of Daniel chapter 1 and verse 1. In the third year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, unto Jerusalem and besieged it.
Right, and so this talks about this king. Obviously, Nebuchadnezzar took our brothers out of our land and brought them back to his land in ancient Babylon. And it's interesting right here as well. We'll go into that for another time. Let's drop down to verse 6.
Verse 6. Now among these were of the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah.
Right. So these are these brothers. These are these Israelite names that they had. Right. We really don't hear about these names if you know the story of the brothers that were locked up into the lion's den. Right. Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, and Daniel. Go ahead.
Unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave unto Daniel the name of
Belteshazzar. And to Hananiah.
Of Shadrach. And to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego.
Right. So you hear oftentimes in the lion's den, it was Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. That's a Christian church. They love talking about that. Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. That wasn't even their names. That was their slave names. The eunuchs took their names and gave them Babylonian names. And you see Belshazzar. That's Daniel's name. That doesn't sound like a Hebrew name. That sounds like something else. And really, be Danya Allah or Belshazzar. That's that. Azariah became Abednego, and Mishael became Meshach. All right, so that's the same thing with Esther. They said her name was Hadassah, which is Esther. She was known as this. So the same thing in our culture, what the Israelites went through, that we go through today. We went through the same things. And the Greeks and the Romans and the Americans, they all take from these ancient cultures. They go and they learn the history. They're like, when the children of Israel, when your empire became so great, how were you oppressing them? How were you ruling over them? And they take notes from that and they apply those things to the day. And one of those things is changing somebody's name. All right. So we're at the close. It's 8:52. I'm not going to spend too much time today. We'll pick it up and go through tomorrow. We'll see how much time we have to go through this stuff as well. But if anything I can say before we close out, I see Kavai said the worst day of my life. For real, he met that broad. He said the worst day of my life talking to her. That's how it be, man. If you rush making a woman your rib, I never met any brother say, I'm mad I didn't get some box, but I met a lot of brothers saying I'm mad I did get some box with this bro. So be circumspect, be wise, you know what I mean? Like these culture, these heathens, yeah, he looked at himself highly. He's like, man, I'm not just taking no bras coming up in here. I don't care how bad you are. You're gonna sit down for a couple months, sit and watch and observe you. Yeah, we're gonna take care of you, but I'm not, doing that because of the things that come with that. But that's pretty much it. We'll get further into the story tomorrow. Salute everybody online. Matter of fact, I'm gonna have the brother read this as well. Can you read the security announcements? Oh, sure.
ICPK security announcements. Mm-hmm. We are the ICPK under Commander General Yohana, started out of 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Mm-hmm. Rule for new brother or sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. Mm-hmm. They are to be saluted only. Mm-hmm. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After this 6-month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Mm-hmm. Tithes, which is a commandment. Numbers 18, verse 21, and Malachi 3, verse 8 through 10. Means tenth in Hebrew. Ma'ashara. 10% of any increase the Lord gives you, give to Treasury Department or teacher priest fund. Free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Mm-hmm. Whatsoever amount you would like, upcoming holy convocations, announce holy convocation from sheep, right. Remind Akim and Aqua to check the bulletin board in the hallway.
Right, and the closing of the feast will be the closing of the Feast of Purim tomorrow. That's the next upcoming holy convocation, right?
If any brother wants to be a trooper in the school, to start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pants, headband, or scarf.
Right. And then now we say we're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher.
We're going to give one courtesy salute to the teacher.
Individual Majum.
Majum.
Well, you tell.
Individual Majum.
Yeah. Mazul Shabbat.
Amazon Shabbat. Corrupt.
Barak.
Barak. Yahweh Shem Yahushua Barakatah.
Yabashim Yahshua Barakatam. Yad Yom Matah.
Yahweh Matah.
We'll get one courtesy salute to the sisters. One courtesy salute to the sisters.
One curse salute to the sisters.
Mm-hmm.
Men of Israel. Amazon Shabbat. Amazon. Corrupt. Barak.
Yahweh Shemar Atah Bashim Yahushua. Yad Yom Matah.
Yahweh Matah.
Dismissed.
Dismissed.
Right. Let's see.